Thank you very much. Thank you. You've all been sitting there quietly. This is something completely differently now. Hopefully going to take your mind away from percentages for a little while and tell you a wee bit about me and my story. Thanks to Corinne and Eddie for thinking it was worth telling you about. Hopefully you'll agree. Before I go on to tell you what happened, I think it's quite important to know what I was before and my life before. So I've got a couple of pictures here of me with hands. I love these pictures because I've got hands in them, and I never thought I would appreciate my hands so much, but clearly I don't have now. I put these pictures together and I thought, you know, there's a bit of a pattern emerging, isn't there? I was a busy working mum. I had a small business of my own, employed 5 people, tried to keep them in a job, and probably like yourselves, it's quite hard doing the small business thing. I had a 4-year-old son, Rory, and I would juggle, probably like most working mums, I would juggle the working life with the house and the kid and the nursery and all these things you have to do. And that was just life. I think I was asked to do a talk once on wealth, and I think I would probably say at that point I thought I was wealthy. I had the nice car and the nice house and the good job, and yeah, I did pretty well for myself. But that particular talk was about real wealth, and I think my views on these things are very different now. But one more picture I want to show you here. Just before my story starts, this was me. I did the kilt walk, which many of you might know. Somebody had asked me, were you fit, before? And I thought, I wasn't an athlete, but I kept myself reasonably fit and I challenged myself. And this one was in May 2013, and I walked from Glasgow to Balloch in the kilt walk, which is 26 miles. It's a marathon. And I had to think back on that. I thought, I've just done a marathon, so yeah, I probably was reasonably fit. But then things changed a bit. Story starts with me having a cough, quite simply a cough. It wasn't a ridiculously bad cough, it was just a cough. And I put up with that for 2 weeks, doing what most of us would do. I think I went to the chemist's and I got the over-the-counter treatments, and I got lozenges and cough syrups and things, and I tried to shake the cold off myself, because you obviously don't have time to fuss about these things, do you? You've got 101 other things needing your attention, and it honestly was just a cough. I look back and think, did I neglect myself? Was I silly? And I don't think I was, to be honest. I think I just handled it the way most people would. But that cough, after 2 weeks, I'd decided I'd had enough and I needed to get rid of it, and I would go to the doctor and get the antibiotics, as you do. And Friday afternoon, having seen the weather forecast for the following weekend, it was to be gorgeous. Lochwinnoch Fete Day, big stuff out in Lochwinnoch. And I wanted rid of my cough for then, and I wanted to be feeling a bit better. So I did get myself to the doctor, and exactly as I thought, he checked me out thoroughly and he gave me antibiotics that would make it go away. Got home and took the double dose, as you do, in the hope that it would be far better the next day. But sadly, that wasn't to be the case. I don't think I would say I was feeling worse the next day, but it was a Saturday and I didn't get out of my bed, and that's very rare for me. With a 4-year-old boy too, you just can't get away with that kind of luxury. But so I stayed in my bed, and I recall well, he ran up the stairs to see me just at the point that I was being sick, without any notice. And we'll not go into too much graphic detail, but there was a lot of blood, and the second I was trying frantically to clean it up so that he didn't see too much of it. Even then, I don't think I panicked. I definitely didn't panic. I thought these antibiotics haven't kicked in yet. But I spoke to my mum, who was on holiday in Cornwall, and she said, get to the doctor. Yeah, mum, whatever. I spoke to my friend. She said, you need to get up to the doctor. And I thought, yeah, all right. After a bit of nagging, I decided to phone NHS 24. they were great, and they thought pretty much like me, the antibiotics haven't kicked in yet, but fortunately they said, why don't you just come up and see us? So my husband and my son took me up on this beautiful day. The sun was beating down in the car window, and I do remember feeling a bit lightheaded and weak, probably. But then I was fighting an infection, so none of that seemed particularly strange to me. Anyone that knows Paisley RAH, you get to the top of a big hill and you can't park there. So they went away with the car and they dumped me at the door. And I got into A&E, told them my name, and they said, oh no, you're in the wrong place. And they sent me to another door that the NHS 24 was situated. And I think that must be 50 paces away, perhaps, at most. But it was a really hard slog, and I was very weak, and I had to stop and just have a rest for a moment in the shade. But like I say, the weather was so hot that doesn't seem unreasonable. I got to the door of NHS 24 and obviously told them who I was and what I was there for. And looking back at it now, I didn't sit down, I didn't wait. I went straight through to a consultant's room. And you think, okay, that's probably quite rare. You know, you've got to wait for hours. But no, straight through I went, and I sat in front of this consultant who, without saying very much to me, clearly saw something not very good there, and tried to get me up onto a bed, which was 4 or 5 steps away, but I didn't make it, and I collapsed. And that's all I remember for 3 weeks of unconsciousness. Bizarrely, my body had started to shut down, and within the space of about 2 hours, the prognosis was that I wasn't going to survive. It was so fast, you wouldn't believe it. I now know that I had pneumonia, and the pneumonia was infected with a virus that we all have in our bodies, Streptococcus A. I'm getting so good at this now, all these things I'd never heard of before. The Strep A and the pneumonia weren't very good together, it would appear, nasty partnership. And the Strep A got into places it shouldn't have got, and caused blood poisoning, sepsis. And that sepsis swept through my body at an alarming rate of knots that I just can't believe is possible. And I was lying there dying in A&E in Paisley. My mum was called and had to return from her holiday. My older brother was with me in hospital. My husband had taken my son away because obviously it wasn't something for him. My young brother got on a plane at 4 o'clock that afternoon with his black suit from Dubai, where he lives. Almost laughing about it, thinking, oh, aren't they exaggerating this? For goodness sake, people get pneumonia, it's fine. But really, seriously, was that bad, and I wasn't expected to survive the night at all. My brother sat in intensive care, my older brother, and asked questions constantly. What's that beep mean? What do those figures mean? What's happening? What's this machine doing? What's that? And probably made a total pain of himself. But yeah, we are probably a bit of a pushy family. But he tried to understand what was going on. But it was life support machines and ventilators and every kind of pipe and tube and machine you can imagine. And he sat with me through the night. When one of the doctors came in and said to him, we think we might have a chance. Your sister's going to die. She's not going to live, but we think we've found a chance in an ECMO programme. ECMO is a last-ditch attempt life support machine. Very, very high risk of blood leaking. Can't get the word. Blood loss, shall we say. I'll come back to me in a minute. Hemorrhage, that's what I'm looking for, thank you. Very high chance of hemorrhaging, but they only suggest ECMO if you're going to die anyway. So this young doctor had come up with ECMO. She phoned down to the ECMO unit in Leicester, and she asked them a lot of questions, and she was able to tell them my situation and tick all the boxes, and they said they would consider me. I've since met up with that consultant in Leicester, and he said that the stats he was given were too low and wouldn't normally have been accepted. But at this point, it's the early hours of Sunday morning, and he's in charge. He's not answerable to any management at the weekend. So thankfully, he decided to take a chance. And he and a team from Leicester got on an air ambulance with their mobile ECMO unit, and they come up to see me. And having told me that they probably wouldn't take me, he then went on to tell me that when they arrived in Paisley, my stats were much worse. So he shouldn't have taken me. My young brother Scott said to me, "You wouldn't believe it." He said it was like knights in shining armour running in there. They literally ran in with their trusty steed that was this ECMO machine, and swept into the surgery and took over. And he just felt a little bit of hope from the previous position that was none. And they hooked me up to this mobile ECMO unit, and I responded pretty quickly. So they decided they would take a chance with me, and they took me down to Leicester, back down their ambulance, all very exciting. Didn't get to see a thing. Never got to experience it all. But they kept me there in Leicester for 10 days, and I was responding well to the ECMO machine. Basically what it does is I'm going to be tested on this, extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. And what it does is it takes the blood out of your body and it oxygenates it like your lungs should do. It chills it and it puts it all back in again, hence the risk of the hemorrhaging. I still can't say it. But this ECMO machine had worked for me, and I came back to Paisley after 10 days, still with all the life support machines, but it would appear not facing death anymore. They brought me down gradually. I was in an induced coma at that point, so they brought me down gradually. It wasn't a wake-up moment where I can suddenly remember waking up. It was a gradual thing where I think I did it 2 or 3 times. And my family had to tell me this whole story, start to finish, and they had to do it over and over again because I wasn't taking it in, about the pneumonia and about the sepsis and things. But at that point, this is how I looked on my ECMO machine. Not quite looking at myself. My dad said it was like a face within a face. I'd just swollen up so much. But you can probably tell from that image there, I'll stand out the road a bit. My hands and my feet had been starved of oxygenated blood quite early on. My friends say within a couple of hours they were sitting rubbing my fingers and my toes because they were starting to go blue. And in that picture there you can see what I've got is claws. I have black claws. They'd gone completely black and solid. There was no flesh. They were brittle. My feet were similar but not as bad. They changed regularly, where sometimes they were bluer rather than black, and other times, if you had a good imagination, you could perhaps see a pink tinge. So we knew there was some bad news coming with those. But I spent the next 3 weeks after getting back fighting to get rid of these machines, to get rid of the ventilator and the tracheostomy and all these things. And it was actually bizarrely a really positive time for me, which probably doesn't make sense. But I was lying in a room there with every single nurse, a doctor, every single medic telling me what a wonder patient I was, how fantastically I'd done, how I was a miracle worker, and they couldn't believe how I'd managed to come back from this. It was incredible. And I guess I probably reacted to that. I was quite proud of myself, and I felt like a miracle worker, but there's a reason for telling it. At the end of total of 6 weeks from walking in that horrible day, 6 weeks later, it was decided that I should move from Paisley to Glasgow Royal, where the plastics ward in there, the plastic surgeons would have a look at what I've got, test, treat, scan, and try and work out what could be saved and what couldn't. So I moved on a Thursday afternoon to Glasgow Royal. I think I've got one more picture actually. Lovely picture, isn't it? Sorry. My brother says it's the only picture he's ever seen me in that I wasn't smiling. So there you are, get a smile on your face, it covers everything. But yeah, I mean, we knew it wasn't good news, don't get me wrong, but I arrived at Glasgow Royal on the Thursday afternoon and settled into my new surroundings, and didn't really know, obviously, the nurses or doctors or anything at that point. But the following morning, you get the rude awakening. If you've ever been in hospital, you'll know. A rude awakening at some ridiculous hour in the morning where the doctor's rounds attend your room and they stand at the end of your bed and they discuss you like you're not there. And obviously I didn't know anyone, but there was a consultant, there was a main consultant, there was a couple of junior doctors, the sister of the ward and a nurse, the physio, the ward physio as well. I remember it being very busy down the end of my bed, maybe 6 or 8 people, let's say. And they stood there and they discussed me, and this consultant announced to everybody that Mrs. Hutton would be losing her hands and her feet in a couple of days' time. And then they went on to discuss more, and I just lay there trying to hold it all together. Because obviously I had no one, I had no family there, I wasn't expecting it. And in his defence, I think he must have thought I knew. But I didn't, and it was shocking. It was probably the lowest point of my life. I was on screaming the phone to my mum, who was there in 20 minutes to help. And then this Hutton juggernaut that happens took off, where we'll get a second opinion, we'll get a third opinion, we'll get the best surgeon there is, and we'll find somebody who thinks differently, and we'll find somebody that can save the day and try something pioneering, and it won't be necessary. But after going through second and third opinions, it became quite obvious that they were all saying the same thing. And it was scheduled that I was to be amputated on the 3rd day by a wonderful surgeon, possibly one of the best in Scotland, Professor Andrew Hart, who we tried very hard to get. He was known to be the best, but he deluded us. And every appointment he didn't make and every meeting he didn't turn up for. And I guess this is over the course of 3 days, so it couldn't have been a lot of times, but it feels like it when you're that family. So when he finally presented himself at the end of my bed and said he'd cleared his diary and he was going to operate on me, I thought, I don't need you. I don't need you. And we laugh about that now. He's actually a good friend now, but he operated on me and I lost my legs through the shins. Artificial legs, in case you hadn't guessed that. Right through the shins, which was the optimum place to amputate them. My feet and my heels and everything were very bad, but going up my legs, it was slightly better. But for prosthetic legs, the shin is the best place to amputate. So that was quite an easy operation. My hands were quite a bit harder. All the time this was going on, I'm reacting to what is basically gangrene and infections in your hand and your legs, and it's fighting everything I'm trying to do to get better. It's fighting against me. So the operation was terminated with only part of the black hands taken off. And what they did was they put my hands in plastic bags and attached them to drains, and for the next 2 days sucked all the toxins and the poisons as much as they could out of my hands. But in total, over a period of another 6 weeks, I went to surgery 8 times. I had 13 different procedures done. My hands, Prof. Hart has apparently been wonderful at saving a lot of my hands. I've got my wrists and I've got some bones in here, which is going to be helpful in the future. But what he did was he took off all the infected tissue and he left me with everything else. But that left an awful lot of exposed bones, muscles, veins, etc. And he did some pioneering stuff where they scooped part of my arm out here. It's a lovely scar, you'll see. They scooped part of my arm out, twisted it, so they didn't disconnect it. They twisted it up here and covered my hands with it so that the circulation remained. And all quite pioneering. This one was a bit different. We needed different more fleshy tissue for this. And thankfully I had an abundance of it on my hips. And what they did was they cut a slit in my thigh and they tucked my hand inside it, sewed it in and left me there for 3 weeks so that the tissue would all grow onto the affected skin and I would have the coverage, the tissue that I needed. But it was the most awkward thing in the world. I mean, I literally was in this position, not this position or that position or forward or back. It was crucial that I stayed in the same position. I had lines drawn right down plasters that matched up to the lines on my stomach, all very crucial, or I would end up getting rework. And I didn't want to go back to surgery if I didn't need to. That was a pretty stressful time. And I remember lying there thinking, what use will I be to anyone What will I do? Who'll employ me? Will they take my son off me? Sorry, in the minute you mentioned Rory, that's me, I'm gone, sorry. Bizarrely, you think things like, I'll never wear a flip-flop again. Still amuses me, but I know I was right, I've never worn a flip-flop again. But yeah, you're feeling pretty low at that time and worthless. And Rory would come and see me at hospital then, but we obviously had to cover up some nasty stuff so we didn't frighten him too much. We tried to tell him the truth, but not the whole truth, perhaps. My nephew, Huckleberry, he would come up and see me and he'd say, so, and God, tell me, it was like a snake bite you had, wasn't it? And you got infected. And I thought, okay. And he said, well, all we needed to do was find the antidote. I thought, well, yeah, actually, he's not too far from the truth. But then he would say to me, how did they cut your hands off then? What did they use? And I'd been lying in hospital desperately trying not to ask that question, but you almost imagine the big rusty saw, you know. I thought, oh no, but here was Huck asking me. And, you know, kids are very real and very honest. And Rory, if he was told to, he would hug me, he would kiss me. But he was timid, he was nervous. I think he was afraid of hurting me. I think I've got a picture here I can show you. But he did as he was told. But he was very much a daddy's boy then, just a few weeks later. But here he is, proudly pushing my wheelchair, and he wouldn't let anybody else do it. I'm going to tell you now about all the time I'm getting these operations. We're taking into account the fact that Rory's about to start school. And it's approaching pretty fast, and we didn't know how we were going to be able to do this. It was so important to me, but I was obviously going to be in a hospital bed at the time. So there was a lot of chat with the surgeons, and we manipulated the surgeries and things so that I could get out and see Rory at his first day at school. And it was a great day, actually. The nurses had me up at 5:30 in the morning because that suited their schedule. So I was lying there washed and dressed by about 6 so that they could get on with their breakfast routine. And David, both my brothers are 6'4" strapping rugby boys. And David arrived, and the nurses talked about harnesses, and they have big frames, cranes basically, that move you from the bed. And yeah, it's just humiliating and embarrassing, and your nightie opens at the back. It's just awful, these things. But David was there, and he said to the nurse, could you possibly go and get her some water? And he threw me over his shoulder, dumped me in the wheelchair. And that was me away in the wheelchair, and the nurses all was like, oh, for goodness sake. But they'd gotten to know us by then. So we went off to see Rory at school, and I think, oh, that picture of my hands after operation, sorry. We got to see Rory at school. Still with my hand strapped into my thigh, which means you can't put a t-shirt on, you can't put your arm through a sleeve, you couldn't do anything like that. So everything was torn open and safety pinned closed. But we got to school, and I think that day changed a lot of things. And at that day, I was mum again. Big turning point for me. Still emotional looking at it. I think I'm going to now to tell you, hopefully. That's what they also did to me, sorry. That one's slightly out of sync. That was where my brothers decided I was not going to be this disabled person, needing all the sympathy. We were going to do some fun, mad things, and they hauled me up onto the roof of the Land Rover that day. Big Gub is my brother. If anyone knows my brother, then you'll know why he's got that registration. But they got me up onto that roof there. Scott was completely hungover from the night before. And it was a bit of a scary moment when they started the ignition, but it was just for a laugh, and it made me feel less disabled. It made me feel alive, and it made me laugh, and it was so important. But while I was in hospital, funny thing happened. Picture of my boy there. Somebody came in, well, David came in with a cheque from somebody at our local gym, and he'd said, Corinne's going to need lots of things, and they're going to be very expensive. And I don't want to do any of your madcap charity fundraisers, so I'll just give you this cheque and put it to good use. And it was bizarre. Back to my days prior to infections and things, I was that fundraiser, I was that that one that did silly things for charity. I'd done the New York Marathon for MenCap. I'd walked in China. I cycled in China alongside the Great Wall. I walked in the Himalayas for Maggie's. I've done lots of great things that were particularly great challenges, actually. But what a good thing to be able to raise money for people and see where it goes and do some good. And here's a total turning of the tables. Suddenly I am the charity. I'm the needy one. And people are feeling sorry for me. And I didn't cope very well with that at all. But meanwhile, this ball is rolling, where people are doing fundraisers right, left and centre. I've got friends for Corinne nights and things, like, goodness me. And I found it really difficult to accept the help. But it's a kindness. People were doing nice things, kind things, because they wanted to help. And I didn't want to be insulting either. So I learned, I guess, just to be able to accept that and just to take the goodwill. But I also promised them and myself that I would use it to help other people when I could. We decided we would set up a charity, Finding Your Feet. The name comes from another day I escaped from hospital, actually. My young brother was taking me to see Touch Bionics in Livingston, world pioneers in bionic hands. I saw the picture earlier. And he escaped for the day, and his son was with us, and Cooper desperately wanted to go into McDonald's. So out we get, wheelchair out the car, and pushed me into McDonald's. And we'd never done anything like this with a wheelchair before. I hope none of you have had to or ever have to, but all that fixed seating doesn't go with wheelchairs. And we didn't know what to do or where to go, but we approached a table, and the two women sitting at it had loose seats. And they'd said, please, will you sit here? We'll give you our table. And being me, I'd said, no, don't be silly, no need, we're just trying to find our feet. And my brother started to laugh, and he said, you've not got any feet, you can't say that. And I laughed, and he laughed, and fortunately the ladies laughed as well. But at that point we thought, okay, we've found a name for a charity now. And Finding Your Feet was born at that point. And it helped me. It helped me back on my feet, and I now use it to help other amputees get back on their feet, whether it be physically or metaphorically. Can't remember what the next slide is, excuse me. There you are. It started out helping me. This day here was a Dubai challenge that my brothers had decided to do, a cycle challenge in Dubai, 92 kilometres. And I got myself complete with crutches over to Dubai so that I could be there to support the 50 riders that were going to do this for me and my charity. I went on to walk here with Rory's primary school, Lochwanna Primary, who wanted to help as well. They did sponsored events and things. And here we are. This is me doing my first mile round George Square in Glasgow here with the team. And the charity has just gone from strength to strength. This is some of the people we help here. Little Charlotte, Keely, Tracy, just some of the ones. I take myself to hospital. I was initially asked if I would go and see somebody in hospital. Tracy, for one, is in Southend-on-Sea. She was in London, St Thomas's Hospital, and I was asked if I would go and see her family. And I flew down that morning, and I remember sitting in the waiting area thinking, what am I doing here? Why would I think I can help? And I really wanted to run back out the room, but met the family, met the friends, and we're all good friends now. And they constantly say to me, all you did was give us hope. We saw you dressed normally, reasonably, normally, what is normally, with your makeup and your hair done and things, and you just gave us hope that she would be able to do all these things. Tracy here lost her legs the same as me. She lost her fingers but has finger stumps, and will be so much better off than me. Obviously you can't tell her that at the time, but now we laugh about it and say, I wish I was in her position, I'm jealous of her. But yeah, I'll go to hospital and I'll hopefully talk to people at that stage and let them know what's ahead of them. I'm there to answer questions. They can text me or phone me, whatever. So that's individuals. They might go on to need something specific. Because we're such a new charity, we can do that. If they think it's the right thing and the trustees agree it, then we'll do whatever we can to help. Sometimes it's just emotional help they need. Sometimes it's practical help. Sometimes they'll need gadgets or health advice, and we go and find the right person to give them that. A lot of it is emotional support, and we offered clubs and social events for them, and we tried to help them back into whatever it was that was important to them before, or what is important to them now. It might be sports. We're doing climbing walls, we're doing movement therapy, we're amputee football we're about to launch in Scotland as well, with the help with the SFA and Partick Thistle. Lots of different sports. Skiing, no reason you can't do skiing. I do. And curling, bowling, all these things have disability groups, so we can either work with them or we can put them on if they're not available. For those amputees that aren't so active, and there's a lot of them, a lot of amputations come from diabetes and circulatory problems, and a lot of that is stemmed from lifestyle issues. So they're probably not going to be sportsmen. They're not going to start doing marathons and cycle events. But we want to be able to put on whatever it is that's important to them, whatever makes them feel better. There's a period I attended Westmark for rehab, Southern General Hospital Rehabilitation Unit. And I think I was probably one of their pushier patients. They were constantly telling me I had to be patient. I was a patient and I had to be patient. And I wasn't at all patient, actually. I really wish I was in with Help the Heroes or something, because I bet they're not patient. But they then said to me, you don't need to come every day now, Corinne, you can come less often. And I said, no, it's fine, I'll just keep coming. And then they tried again and said, we need to put you down to 3 days, Corinne. I said, no, I'll just keep coming. And eventually there comes a time and they say, we can't do this anymore, Corinne, there's more amputees coming through. And rightly so, you're discharged from Westmark. And I know I'm pushy and dynamic. I know I'm very hugely independent. But even still, I remember feeling utterly lost at that time. I didn't know where the next part of my life was. I didn't know where to go or what to do. And this was everything I knew then. So we're very aware of that, and we're working with Westmark and Southern General to be that next step where they do need to put you out, they do need to discharge you, but how about if you say, go and look up this charity, see if they do something that might be of interest to you, and hopefully we can get them all together. And the ones that aren't as sociable, we've got Latte Laughs next week. We'll do that once a month. I refuse to have coffee mornings, but for some people it is what they want to do is just a social. We're going to Kelvin Grove Art Galleries, and we might even look at the art, but mostly I think we'll just support each other. There's clubs that we offer for different people. We have, first one we did 2.5 years ago, we did a Christmas party for the kids that have suffered limb loss or perhaps congenital, born without a limb. We had a Christmas party for them, thinking we were going to be able to do so much to help these kids. And in they come, and they're not struggling at all, they're brilliant. They just got on with it. But what we didn't realise was that the parents didn't know a single other family that had been through what they had. And bizarrely, we discovered that they need some help. So we now have the support group for the parents as well, meetings for the parents, and they all get together at the kids' events as well. And they now chat and boast and complain, ask questions and things. Every so often a video comes up of some young kid doing a backflip in a trampoline, and usually there's a little remark underneath it that says, can you do this, Corinne? And I think, off I go, we've got to start doing trampolining now. So we have a laugh about it, and we laugh at ourselves, and we make each other laugh. And hopefully we can set them on the right track to be what they want to be and to do what they want to do. I think I've got some pictures here that I can show you. Christmas party, Santa guest appearance. That was the Millport fundraising day we had, fundraising day. We're having another this year as well for those that aren't quite so good at their cycling, whether it be through amputations or age. We've got the brownies and the cubs coming, and they'll cycle around the 11 miles of Millport, and a big party at the end of it with the bouncy castles and the kids performers and all sorts of things there as well. So that's a good day out. Some of these photos are in there just to show you and emphasise what you can do if you want to do it. And I was lucky enough to be picked to carry the Commonwealth baton. And some of these people see these pictures and think, no way, I can't do that. And People couldn't believe I was sledging there. That was just a few weeks ago. But you know, actually sit yourself in a plastic tray and go. There's no effort whatsoever. So that was one of the easiest things I've done. Getting back up the hill was a bit harder. I've done assault courses. And all of this with the point of showing people you can if you want to. Yes, you can. And if you think back to what I said about what was I going to be able to do, how much help would I need, then I'm pretty proud of these pictures, but I love showing them off to amputees as well to say, yeah, you can. If you want to, you can. Probably one of my proudest achievements on second anniversary of my illness, which turns out to be Jim Campbell here's 80th birthday. He's my friend's dad, and he said, I'm going to climb Ben Nevis on my 80th birthday, and I'm going to do it for finding your feet. A lot of his family came along, and I thought, you know, I'll go off and I'll set them off. I know I can't do it, but I'll set them off, and I'll walk a bit with them, and I'll see how far I could get, how far I could go. And my dad came with me because at some point I'm going to have to turn back, and I don't want to spoil things for them. I want to get safely down the hill on my own. But do you know what? We did it. We both did it. We climbed the whole of Ben Nevis. As far as I know, the only female amputee to do it, only the second amputee, quadruple amputee I should say, to do it. The other was Jamie Andrews, the mountaineer, who's a friend of mine, but he's a mountaineer. That's not fair. I deserve the handicap system. So yeah, and my dad complained like mad, saying, you said you wouldn't do it, and I thought I was only going to do a quarter of it. So yeah, it's really nice that you can do things like this that people didn't expect you to be able to do, that I didn't expect me to be able to do. So, and things like that get you doors opening. Here we are at the top, and you get to do things you didn't think were possible, and doors open that probably would never have opened for me. This was me setting a world record attempt. I am now the proud Guinness Book of World Records holder, along with 3 other people, for the fastest 10k on a quadricycle. There you are. So we had to pick one that I could do, didn't we? So, and we did that on Millport. Had a lot of laughs with it. And between that and Ben Nevis, I got myself an invite to Downing Street in December. And before you jump to conclusions, no, it's not necessarily my political direction, but nonetheless, I got an invite to go, and I'm damn well going to go. Thank you very much. And took a wee bit of stick for it, but I view Downing Street as being public and ours. And it was a St Andrews evening, and I was delighted to be invited down and singled out to talk to him. And he was very polite and nice to me. And that's exactly what I'm trying to say to you, is that I'd never got to do that before. How lucky am I to lose my legs and my hands, you know? But yeah, give me them back maybe. But at least I can see that there is some positive in this life that perhaps wouldn't have been there before, or certainly as I was lying in hospital, I didn't feel. I mentioned the climbing wall earlier. So these are some of the things that we do for amputees in finding your feet. There's no limit to what we can do. It can be individual things, it can be group things. If it's important to them and it really makes them smile, we're happy to do it. I got flying lessons, they can get flying lessons. These are all available. And I don't think I'd be very good at this charity thing if I didn't stand in front of people and say, do you know, if you want to, there's something you can do to help. There's something everybody can do to help, should you be inclined. With Finding Your Feet, we'll accept volunteers of all sorts. If you've got an hour of your time you can give up to marshal at an event, if you've got expertise that would help us, then that would be wonderful. Thank you, greatly accepted, not expected. Your last pound, gratefully appreciated as well. Obviously we need money to be able to do what we do. Maybe you'll do events and fundraisers. I do a lot of talking, something like this. I'm very good at talking. Landed on my feet, so to speak, there. If you think there is somewhere you think I should be talking to, then let me know. I'd be I'd be grateful for the chance. And something like this, to be able to show kids what is normal. Is it glasses, red hair, freckles, pale skin? Is it a missing hand, a missing foot? These guys think I'm bionic woman. They think I'm total robot. And you walk into a room and they say, wow, rather than, oh, sorry. And I'm hopefully going to pass that on to all these kids, that they won't stare at amputees in the future and they won't think it's odd to ask questions. So if you think there's somebody I should be talking to, then please let us know. Fundraising events happen a lot. That was a curry night we had a couple of weeks ago. I was telling Rona earlier, actually, I got the chance to meet Hardeep Singh Kohli, who phoned me up and said, you're having a curry night and you didn't tell me. I'm a curry chef. So he's going to do a comedy night for us in a few weeks' time as well. So whether it be your event or our event, this is the cycle we do for the more experienced cyclists, the more fit ones than Millport. 92 kilometres round Arran. Happens every August. If you would do that for finding your feet, that would be very kind. If you pay the entry fee and do it, that's helpful. If you raise money and do it, even better. And that's usually a bit of a fun day where there's quite a lot of the cyclists get lost in the distillery and in the cafes and things along the road. Some of them take it seriously and some don't. It's entirely up to you. So we do have lots of events on as well that you might want to join in with. You might want to do your own event, and every single thing would be gratefully appreciated. We also have a campaign on. I was lucky enough with the connection I have with Professor Hart that I mentioned earlier. He's leading hand specialist in Scotland, and when he amputated my hands, he clearly had in mind, the thought for me was hand transplants. And a year and a half ago, I was accepted as the only person in line to get a hand transplant. And because of what he'd saved and was able to do for me, I was quite a good contender for hand transplants. So I was very excited about the prospect that somebody could at least 50% fix me, and I would have hands that would do what yours do. And I think it's fair to say I've managed pretty well. I drive and I cycle and I climb and all these things that you see me doing. I manage, but it's not the same as having your own hands. I can't do a zip or a button or thing without a gadget. I can't hold my son's hand. I can't fluff his hair. I can't feel all these things. So to be able to get my own hands would be wonderful. But that does unfortunately require a donor, and they're quite hard to come by. So here I am 18 months later, still waiting on a donor. And there's actually more people in England now that are going to be accepted for hand transplants, which is wonderful news. But it does look like, I might not get the hands as quickly as I'd hoped. But what happened was when it was announced and it was all over the press that I was going to get hand transplants, this was quite big news. I got a lot of attention from it. And Gerard Butler sent me his handprints, and he said he wanted to lend a hand. And that sparked a bit of a campaign, actually, where we now have celebrity handprints. Probably about 60 of them now, ranging from sports stars to politicians and film stars. I've got Mel Gibson's and Vinnie Jones and Andy Murray's. And I was almost yesterday down to see Cal Frampton before his very big fight tomorrow night. But that was postponed, so I'll get to see him next week as well. So again, doors are opening. I'm getting to meet great people. But if you know any celebrities, then perhaps you could ask them if they would be prepared to donate their handprints. Either paint, crayon, colour them in, cut them out, I don't care. Anything that's personal or easy for them. If you know anyone, please ask. And what we'll do eventually is we'll auction these all off and make money for the charity and get a lot of publicity, hopefully, in doing it. So, and Andy Murray, new proud dad. That photo's in there because this guy helped me. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I thought, actually, when I'm standing here talking about what you can do for me, then maybe there's something I can do for you. If you remember this photo and you remember me and what I've said, then maybe you'll think about yourselves and think, is there more I can be doing? Should I be finding my feet? Should somebody else be finding their feet? Are you challenging yourself? Are you pushing yourself? Can I do anything to help you? Either in your businesses and talks, in your motivation. Yeah, maybe you'll just go away remembering what we talked about today, and maybe you'll remember finding your feet, because I haven't got any feet. Remember that. Always find that quite amusing. So I've spoken for a long while there, guys. I'm sorry. That's my story, and what I hope to be able to do is to see how you can fight out of things you thought you couldn't, and what you can do with your life if you want to. And yeah, I think now I wouldn't say I'm glad to have lost my hands and my legs, but I know I'm in a good place, and from thinking who would ever employ me, I think I've got the job of a lifetime now that's tailor-made for me. How lucky am I? Thank you very much for listening. Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much.